Hey, good afternoon, everybody. We're going to get started, and we're going to try to move quickly because it's kind of brisk out here. Of course, we have a wonderful reception indoors afterwards, which we hope you'll all join us for. My name is Andrew Berman. I'm the Executive Director of the Greenwich Village Society for Historic Preservation, and we are very happy to be here today to unveil a plaque on Westbeth, which is one of the jewels of the Greenwich Village community. GVSHP was founded in 1980 to help document, celebrate, and preserve the architectural and cultural history of Greenwich Village, the East Village, and NoHo. And there's really few places that embody that more wonderfully than Westbeth does. And we're going to talk a little bit about why Westbeth is so important to the history of our neighborhoods. We also have 4 great speakers today, and I'll introduce them one at a time as they come up. I want to say a few words about Westbeth. As many of you know, Westbeth's artist housing was conceived in the 1960s as a partial solution to the acute need for affordable housing and studios for artists and their families. In so doing, it became one of the first examples of adaptive reuse of industrial buildings for artistic and residential use in the United States. Westbeth comprises a full city block bounded by West, Bethune, Washington, and Bank Streets. And the complex, of course, gets its name from 2 of these streets, West and Bethune. It was originally built as a complex of 13 buildings in 1868 for Western Electric. In 1898, Bell Laboratories took over and turned it into one of the world's most important research centers. It was here that the first talking movie, the condenser microphone, the first TV broadcast, and the first binary computers were demonstrated, among so many innovations in the field of sound technology. In 1966, Bell Labs relocated to its headquarters in New Jersey, starting a new chapter in this complex's history. With innovative funding spearheaded by the Kaplan Fund and Roger Stevens of the National Endowment for the Arts, Westbeth became an ambitious renovation project designed to create 383 live-work spaces for artists of all disciplines and their families under the direction of developer Dixon Bain. Joan Davidson of the Kaplan Fund, here today, supervised the conversion of the building and its operation. Richard Meyer was the renovation architect with instrumental support from one of his staffers, architect Todd Williams, who lived in Westbeth in the earliest days. And Todd actually hoped to be able to be here today, but because of a scheduling conflict could not. Westbeth opened in 1970, and for the last nearly half century, it has provided affordable, quality housing and living and workspace for nearly 400 artists and their families. Westbeth was added to both the National Register of Historic Places and the New York State Register of Historic Places in 2009. And in 2011, the New York City Landmarks Preservation Commission unanimously designated Westbeth Artists Housing a New York City landmark, with significant research on Westbeth's behalf performed by the Greenwich Village Society for Historic Preservation. In addition to its residential component, Westbeth also contains large and small commercial spaces, performance and rehearsal spaces, and artist studios, both individual and communal, such as the Westbeth Sculptor Studio, Westbeth Painter Studios, the Ceramic Studio, and the Westbeth Graphic Studio. Westbeth is also home to major cultural organizations, including the New School for Drama, the Martha Graham Center of Contemporary Dance, the School for Poetic Computation. New York City's first LGBT synagogue, Congregation Beth Simchat Torah, was also located here for 40 years. And that's really just the tip of the iceberg of Westbeth's incredible history and contributions to New York City and our nation's history and culture. And we're very proud to partner with folks at Westbeth on this and many other projects to celebrate its many contributions and to hopefully a half century, a century, and more into the future to continue to be able to celebrate what it does. So I want to ask our first speaker to come up, who is representing the original inception of this complex. He's from Nokia Bell Labs, which acquired Bell Labs' parent company in 2015. Donald Hernan is the head of experiments in art and technology at Nokia Bell Labs. He's currently responsible for their global activities, and he collaborates with the artistic and creative community to push the limits of technology to solve the greatest human need challenges, and that combination of creativity and technology could not be a more perfect representation of Westbeth's incredible history. Welcome, Duna.
This is like a summer's day back home in Ireland where I'm from. Nice and warm. So it's great, honestly it's really great to be here. This place here is very special to me. You heard the role I have fusing art and technology, and there is no more special place in the world globally than this place here in that respect. I don't want to talk about the innovations and technologies that were developed here because it's been mentioned and lots of you know it maybe even better than I do. But for me this place is very special because of the early fundamental work that was developed in Bell Labs, that scientific pioneering work to understand deeply the physics and the science of everything in the universe, and how Bell Labs came together as an institute, as a cultural organization in this place that is still happening today, very proudly and strongly. All of that foundation was built here on this site. So all of our multidisciplinary collaboration, bringing together different scientific disciplines, collaborating across fields, the fusion of art and technology that Bell Labs pioneered in its own right in the 20s and 30s and so on, and then how that evolved throughout what we know as Westbeth today. So this is really a special place to me. When you think about, and to Bell Labs and to the world in general, when you think about the role that this place has played in the development of modern society. And I think it's great that this plaque is being presented here today. I think we need to do more of this. If you think about the role that this place has played in the world, we need to recognize this more and more and more. And you hear a lot about the hype about innovation and product this and whatever from Silicon Valley and other places, but in comparison to what the likes of this site has achieved and developed for the humanity in general, there is no comparison. So I think we need to do a better job helping the world understand the significance of places like this and the role of fusing art and technology and doing deep scientific research. And in fact, there's another plaque here right beside the new one that we're about to launch, which is in commemoration of one of the earliest Nobel Prizes that Bell Labs received for discovering the fundamental nature of atomic physics. And you can see how this has been carried on into the future. So with that, I want to close out. I want to say that there's a very special person here from Bell Labs. His name is Ed Eckert. He's hiding in the back. He's our archivist based in New Jersey. And please come and talk to Ed. He knows everything that there is to be known about Bell Labs, and he knows an awful lot about this site as well, and I think you'll have a fascinating conversation with him. And thank you for being here, and thank you to the Society for this great thing.
Thanks so much. So, you know, as we mentioned before, in 1966, Bell Labs moved on to New Jersey, and this unique place became repurposed thanks to a great confluence of genius, creativity, and generosity. And none of this could have been possible without our next speaker, Joan Davidson, President Emeritus of the J.M. Kaplan Fund. Joan Davidson has had and still has an illustrious career as a philanthropist, championing the arts, architecture and design, the natural and built environment, cultural history, New York City, and civil liberties. She headed the J.M. Kaplan Fund, which was founded by her father, Jacob M. Kaplan, in 1945. She headed it for 18 years, beginning in 1977. Later, she founded Furthermore, the Kaplan Fund's grants and publishing program, and the Alice, Furthermore's award for distinguished illustrated books, on which she now focuses much of her time. The list of her accomplishments and causes would take up the remainder of the day. So without further ado, let me welcome Joan Davidson.
Hello, everybody. Andrew has given you the perfect history of Westbeth and told you everything you need to know, so I won't go over it again. I will only add that this great project began in the golden age, in the Kennedy years. It was JFK who established the National Endowment on the Arts. And the first thing, which was headed by Roger Stevens, mentioned by him, and the first thing the new National Endowment on the Arts decided they wanted to do, the most important thing they thought could be done for the arts in America was to create a place where artists could live and work in the same place. And of course it had to be in New York. So that was the first and most important decision that was made, and the rest is history. Roger Stevens then came to my father, whom he knew, and the two old geezers got together and figured out, roaming around the city, finding the perfect building, and the rest is history, and you know. So I just want to thank, where is it? Andrew. I want to thank Andrew, first of all, for everything he did to help Westbeth get its historic designation in so many other ways. He's been a partner right from the beginning, and for this wonderful book, which is so important, I think, to all of you and to us at the fund. And so we are
Can't hear you, John.
You can't hear me?
There you go.
Oh, right from the beginning?
No.
I'm just praising and thanking Andrew for his marvelous help and leadership in this whole enterprise, and just saluting everybody at
Thank you, Joan. And I want to say thank you to Harry Bubbins and the whole GVSHP staff for putting together today's great event. So our next speaker represents the vibrant and diverse and creative residents that make Westbeth such a special place of artistic creation. Nancy Gaber is the Vice President of Westbeth Artist Residence Council. Nancy serves as the Vice President. She has been intimately involved with much of the Residence Council's artistic and community programming, and currently teaches You're Never Too Old to Play, Acting for Seniors, one of Westbeth's first City Council discretionary grant classes. She also directed an original play by her husband, Paul Binnerts, that took place at Westbeth immediately following Hurricane Sandy. She's been involved in many beautification projects at Westbeth and helped organize a great deal of programming for her neighbors. Nancy?
So you know that I'm Nancy and I'm Vice President of WARC,
Closer
which
to
is
the mic.
the Westbeth Artist.
Mic.
Okay, can you hear me?
Closer. Move it down.
Hello? Okay. WARC consists of 15 council members. We're all volunteers. We're elected by the Westbeth residents to both represent the tenants' interest as well as produce original cultural and social events. WARC operates a year-round art gallery exhibiting artists from within and outside Westbeth, including the Whitney and Parsons. With discretionary grants from the New York City Council, WARC facilitates diverse senior wellness classes, including yoga, singing, sound healing, and improvisational acting, all free and open to the public. The Penn Literary Quest has residents opening their apartments to notable international authors, reading from their writings, to hundreds of visitors wanting to peek inside the legendary Westbeth apartments. Open House New York Open Studio offers historical tours of the building with residents as the guides, and a self-guided tour of residents' artist studios. Westfest Dance Fest combines site-specific dance inspired by Westbeth architecture with a curated performance in the Martha Graham studio. The Westbeth Icons Project, which we're very proud of, honors our senior artists who continue to work beyond their 80s as an inspiration to everybody. WARC's Beautification Committee produces the annual flea market, whose products go to beautifying the building. From its modest beginnings in 1987, not 1897, of planting trees, flowers, and plants on Bank and Bethune Street. The Beautification Committee is responsible for the funding of this iron and glass canopy, a permanent legacy from the tenants. For the many guests Westbeth welcomes to the building, and for ourselves, of course, the Beautification Committee purchased new floor tiles for the elevators. These are just a few examples. It's a privilege to be a part of Westbeth, a community of artists which stands together in times of emergency. Like Hurricane Sandy, which hit us hard. No electricity, no water, no elevators for 2 weeks. WARC formed committees to help homebound residents as we huddled together at daily meetings in the community room with no heat. We mourn the loss of older residents as they pass on, and we also celebrate in times of joy. Affordable rents have created homes where we can live, work, raise our families, and share our triumphs and struggles together. Painters use their homes to work, to store work and paint. Musicians and dancers are able to practice in their studios, and actors like me can teach private acting classes when work is scarce and money tight. Our children grew up here, and many still keep in touch with each other through social media. We have created our own oasis in the far West Village. WARC is very happy that we are designated as a historic building and appreciate the seal of recognition afforded by this plaque. Thank you. Thank you, GVHPS. Westbeth is like a deeply rooted old oak tree. Like a tree, the building and its inhabitants have grown and experienced rebirth through the years with beautiful branches and new leaves growing every year. In 2020, Westbeth will celebrate its 50th anniversary. See you all then.
Thank you very much, Nancy. And our last speaker is one who helps keep this amazing place of so many moving parts and people running smoothly for the residents, staff, and the community. Patricia C Jones, board chair of Westbeth, has more than 30 years leadership experience in the nonprofit sector with a concentration in the arts, urban planning preservation, economic development, and the environment. She's been a professional management and fundraising consultant since 1990 with an emphasis on policy planning, budgeting and financial oversight, fundraising, board development, strategic and long-range planning, and evaluation. Most recently, she was the executive director of I-Beam Atelier, a nonprofit arts organization that offers residencies and public programs at the intersection of arts and technology. For the last year and a half, she served as the president of the board of Westbeth, and I'd like to ask Pat to come up and say a few words.
Hello everyone, I'm sure you all know my face by now. I hope, since I'm also serving as the interim executive director of this wonderful establishment, as we're going through a lot of changes and developing in a lot of ways, and are looking forward to celebrating our 50th in a year and a half, which is a very short time from now. I just want to reinforce what everyone else has always said today and before, that this is an amazing place. It's an amazing complex that has this extraordinary history going back to the 1860s, with one of the oldest buildings on the West Side Highway still extant and still working as artist studio spaces, what's known as the I Building, and an extraordinary combination of people, of institutions, and artists of all kinds and stripes, and we're looking forward to continuing this and expanding it and developing new and exciting programs as we move into our 50th year and beyond. And now I want to invite everyone in for a reception inside where it's warm. Sorry, oh yes, the plaque.
I know we all want to get inside, but I want to ask all the speakers if you could come up and join for the unveiling of the plaque.
So hold on a second, let's get you all set. Oh, that's the right one. Okay. Maybe you can stay down on your. I got you.
Great.
Yeah, sure. You let me know when you want.
Why don't you just stay right? Do you mind staying on the step? Are you okay? Okay.
All
Janelle, why don't
right.
you stand
So,
right there?
drum roll, please.
Hold on a second. Let me get out of the way. We're gonna
And
start there.
here we go. And I'm going to read it for everybody. Westbeth Artist Housing. This complex of buildings was built from circa 1860 to 1934. It served as the home of Bell Telephone Labs from 1898 to 1966, where many technological innovations were developed or advanced, including radar, television, and video telephones. It reopened in 1970 as Westbeth, an early example of large-scale adaptive reuse of an industrial building. One of the first projects supported by the National Endowment for the Arts and developed in collaboration with the Kaplan Fund, it continues to provide affordable live-work space to nearly 400 artists and their families. The complex is a designated New York City and National Historic Landmark and is listed on the state and national registers of historic places.
Yay. Everyone, please stay in your place for another photograph.
Okay,
So I can get Pat, because we couldn't see Pat in the last photograph. And if you move a little away from the plaque, so we can see the plaque and Pat. You and Nancy squeeze together. Nancy, squeeze. Okay, you got him everything? Have you got everything?
Yeah, give me a look over here. 1, 2, 3. Awesome.
And now look this way.
all right, everybody, let's get warm and go inside to celebrate some more.
There's wine and food.